Welcome to the Explainer. So today we're looking at something just totally fascinating. If you look closely at historical and biblical texts, you'll see the exact same handful of foods popping up during the most pivotal moments in the story. And we're not talking about extravagant, massive feasts here. We're talking about simple, humble snacks. But what's really amazing about this is that modern nutritional science is proving that these ancient staples are heavily backed by the very research doctors rely on today. I mean, just think about that for a second. The people of the ancient Near East actually understood the concept of superfoods thousands of years before modern laboratories even existed. They inherently knew what sustained them, what healed them, and what gave them energy. So we're going to explore exactly how these foods function and why they completely outcompete those processed snacks probably sitting in our pantries right now. Okay, let's dive right into our roadmap. We've structured these 17 ancient foods into 4 highly digestible categories: fast fuel and energy, protectors of the heart, grains, legumes, and sustenance, and finally, essential precautions. Starting with Section 1, fast fuel for the journey. This is all about quick energy for soldiers and travelers. Picture this: you're a shepherd or a soldier, and you are just utterly exhausted out in the wilderness. You needed quick, reliable energy that wouldn't just give you a massive spike and leave you crashing an hour later. Well, history brilliantly illustrates how they solved this. In the historical account of 1 Samuel 25, a woman named Abigail actually brings 200 cakes of pressed figs to David and his men to calm down a really dangerous, tense situation. And looking at the modern science, it makes perfect sense. Pressing dried figs into dense blocks creates a portable, calorie-dense fuel that's totally loaded with potassium and calcium. It was basically the ancient equivalent of a modern energy bar. So the secret ingredient making this all possible? Soluble fiber. This is exactly why those fig cakes acted just like modern sports gels. Figs give you a real, potent dose of natural sugar for quick energy, but the soluble fiber steps in and slows down your digestion. That prevents the sugar from hitting your bloodstream all at once, which restores your energy steadily without that immediate, terrible crash. These were literally the ultimate energy restorers of the ancient world. You could rely on those portable fig cakes or pair dried figs with raisins. That combination was actually so powerful that David's men used it to revive a starving Egyptian servant they found out in the wilderness. They also heavily utilized raw honey, drizzling it over fresh figs or baking it into spiced raisin cakes. And raw honey is just incredible here because it carries natural antibacterial properties. Historically, it was used to soothe sore throats and even treat minor wounds. Moving right along to Section 2, protectors of the heart and body, focusing on antioxidants and healthy fats. The big player in this category is polyphenols. Actually, that's a scientific term you'll definitely want to keep in your back pocket. Polyphenols are powerful antioxidant compounds that researchers have studied extensively. They're the real secret behind the health benefits of ancient staples like pomegranates and olive oil, and they work inside your body to support heart health and keep your blood vessels nice and flexible. And it gets even better when you pair these things up. The health benefits literally multiply. Mixing pomegranate seeds into plain yogurt delivers those polyphenols alongside live cultures for your gut. Serving fresh grapes with cheese gives you blood vessel protecting resveratrol paired with calcium. And simple whole olives served with flatbread, that delivers incredible heart-healthy monounsaturated fats and vitamin E. You know, these foods historically symbolized beauty and abundance, but secretly, they served as powerful protectors of our physical health. Now look, I know pomegranates can be super intimidating to prep. They look like a messy puzzle, but here is a brilliant, practical kitchen hack for you. Step 1. Just cut the fruit in half. Step 2, hold each half over a bowl of water. Step 3, gently tap the back of the fruit with a wooden spoon. The seeds will fall right out, and because you're doing this over water, the juice isn't going to splatter all over your kitchen. Honestly, it saves so much frustration. Okay, beyond the fruit, ancient nuts were absolute powerhouses of plant-based fats. Stuffing dates with almonds combines incredible potassium with a heavy hit of vitamin E. If you swap those out and pair pistachios with dates instead, you get the added benefit of lutein and zeaxanthin, which actively support your eye health as you age. And then, of course, there are walnuts. They are incredibly unique among nuts because they contain a plant-based ALA omega-3 fatty acid that offers real anti-inflammatory benefits, especially when eaten with fresh grapes. So the absolutely crucial point here is this exact number, 350, as in 350 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the absolute sweet spot for safely roasting your almonds and walnuts. You just spread them out on a baking sheet for about 7 to 12 minutes. It deepens their rich flavor beautifully, but you really have to keep an eye on them. Nuts can go from perfectly golden to completely burnt in just a minute. All right, on to section 3, grains, legumes, and sustenance. This is all about feeding the masses and securing birthrights. So, while fruit and nuts were fantastic for quick bursts of energy, these are the hearty, protein-packed staples that fed everyday folks. And the contrast between the history and modern science here is just wild. In Genesis 25, Esau comes in from the fields completely exhausted and so incredibly hungry that he trades his entire birthright to his brother Jacob just for a single bowl of red lentil stew. Today, modern science tells us exactly why his body was craving it so badly. Legumes like lentils provide incredibly steady, long-lasting energy, they lower heart disease risk, and they perfectly stabilize your blood sugar. 18 grams. That is the massive amount of protein you get from just a single cooked cup of lentils, right alongside 16 grams of fiber. That 1-2 punch of protein and fiber is exactly what makes lentils so filling. It slows down how fast sugar enters your bloodstream, which keeps your energy levels completely stable. Next up, we have barley, and its secret weapon is beta-glucan. This is a specific type of fiber heavily studied for its ability to lower LDL, that's the bad cholesterol, and stabilize blood sugar. Barley was essentially the bread of ordinary people in ancient times because it was way more accessible than wheat. In fact, it was the very grain used in historical texts to feed crowds of thousands. These everyday staples literally kept the ancient world moving. Whether it was a hearty lentil dip scooped up with flatbread or barley cakes served alongside crusty whole grain bread, the secret was often what they were dipped in: high-quality extra virgin olive oil and herbs. Combining these grains and legumes with olive oil provided vital monounsaturated fats that supported blood vessel function immediately after eating. Even roasted chickpeas tossed in cumin were an absolute dietary cornerstone back then. If you're going to make those roasted chickpeas at home, here is the go-to method. Drain and rinse the canned chickpeas, pat them thoroughly dry, then toss them with oil and cumin and roast at 400 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes. Notice step 2 there, you absolutely must pat them thoroughly dry with a towel. If you skip this, any leftover moisture will cause the chickpeas to steam in the oven instead of roast, and that leaves them soft instead of giving you that perfect, satisfying crunch. Okay, finally, section 4. Essential preparation and precautions. Safety first with ancient foods. Before we wrap this up, we need to take a quick beat, shift gears, and ask a really important question. Are these ancient snacks safe for everyone? Now, while these foods are incredibly healthy, this explainer absolutely does not replace a qualified doctor's advice. It's a pretty common misconception that just because a food is ancient, natural, and historically rooted, it must be universally harmless. That is simply not the case, and there are some very specific interactions you need to know about. Because even though they're natural, there are some real modern medical cautions to keep in mind. For instance, age plays a big role. You should never give honey to infants under 1 year old due to botulism risks. Existing conditions matter too, right? Folks with celiac disease absolutely must avoid traditional barley and wheat breads, and anyone with tree nut allergies obviously needs to skip the almonds and walnuts. Finally, check your prescriptions. Pomegranate can actually interact with blood-thinning medications like warfarin. So, as always, please consult your doctor. I want to bring us to the close of our explainer today with this incredible quote from our source material. Something about a food simple enough to trade a birthright for just makes sense to me. I think that beautifully captures a profound appreciation for the sheer simplicity, the historical weight, and really the unpretentious nature of these foods. And really, that is our core takeaway here. 17 ancient snacks absolutely validated by modern science. These humble foods brilliantly outcompete the highly processed artificial snacks of our modern era. They give us real, tangible nutrition, steady energy, and long-term health benefits, all without the need for a laboratory. Which leaves us with one final kind of mind-bending question to chew on. If these ancient snacks so easily outpace modern processed foods in both nutrition and function, what else is hiding in our history just waiting to be rediscovered? Hopefully you take a look at your own kitchen a little differently today. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.